Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Soul Standing. My name is Beth, and I am here today with a mid-month wrap-up for the middle grade May and Book a Day in May readathons that I am currently taking part in. Now, if you don't know anything about middle grade May, it is a month-long readathon where we read as many middle grade books as we feel like. It is hosted and created by Akossiwa K, and this year she has asked four of us to be her co-hostesses, and we are myself, Elizabeth from Lizziefayelovesbooks, Shara from SharaMeWithBooks, and Abby from Abby the Librarian. Now, this year we have weekly topics, and each one of us is handling a topic. Um, for the week, we've got memorable characters, books that made you cry, etc. And I will leave all of the details for the hostesses and our weekly schedule and all of that down below if you want to know more about it. As for a book a day in May, Elizabeth and myself are each attempting to read one book per day in the month of May. That does not mean that we are completing a book every day. That just means that by the end of the month, we want to have completed 31 books. They do not have to be middle grade books, they can be kids' books, just whatever we're doing. I'm reading a lot with my daughter, so I'm doing pretty good so far. In fact, today is Monday, May the 14th, and I have read 17 books so far. So without further ado, I am going to get right into it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the title of the books off of my Goodread list. You can't really focus there. See my Goodreads list. I'm going to read you the title of the books, and then I'm going to do a short review of each of them. Most of them I have with me. However, there are a few that were either audiobooks or books that were already taken back to the school so my students could read them. So I don't have all of them with me, but the ones I do have, I will show you as I discuss them. All right, number one was Beauty and the Beast and Other Stories. These are fairy tales adapted by Sarah Hines Stevens. I already did a short review. Beauty and the Beast is my favorite fairy tale of all time. I love almost all of its adaptations, although there are a couple that are a little iffy for me. And I just had a great time reading this series of fairy tales. Next, Rocket and Groot Stranded on Planet Stripball by Tom Engelberger. This was a graphic novel book that was told as though Rocket the Raccoon was doing a captain's log. It was pretty good. I think I gave it a 3.5 stars. It was interesting, but didn't grab me like I was hoping it would. With as much as I love the Marvel Universe, I really thought that was going to be like a big hit with me. And it just, I think there was something about the art style didn't quite grab me like I wanted it to. But Veronica, the like 4000 HD tape dispenser with all of the really cool accoutrements was awesome. So that was definitely a fun additive to the story. Next, we have Poetry for Young People by Langston Hughes. I enjoyed it. It's a picture book set up with Langston Hughes poetry. It is most definitely middle grade plus because it's Langston Hughes's poetry, and there are some things in there that younger middle grade and elementary students really don't need to read. But it had some really interesting artwork. Unfortunately for you guys, I have it at school. A student is currently reading it, so I can't show it to you. Next, we read The Ersatz Elevator. This is a series of unfortunate events, number 6 by Lemony Snicket. My daughter and I are listening to the audiobooks. Most of them are narrated by Tim Curry, and I love Tim Curry's narration. I believe we gave this one a 4 out of 5. These middle books are kind of 3.5 to 4 stars. They're a little lower than the beginning books, but we are definitely enjoying them. And the next book is downloaded, waiting on us to start it. We had to wait to get it from the library. I hate when that happens. Next, we have The Frog Who Croaked, Platypus Police Squad, book number 1 by Jarrett J. Krosoczka. Krosoczka. I believe this is a Polish or Russian last name. Um, this was a very interesting read, kind of different. I gave it a 3-star rating. Now, this one has some artwork in it, but it is a mid-level, middle grade novel. So it was fun, but it was definitely full of middle grade mystery tropes and kind of reminded me of a cut rate Zootopia a little bit. But 3 stars. I may proceed to the next one in the series at some point, although I'm not going to be doing it right at this instant. Next, I completed Flying Lessons and Other Stories. This is a series of short stories that was edited by Ellen O, the co-founder of We Need Diverse Books, and each of the authors in this book um, is considered a diverse author. So this book I gave a 4 stars overall. As with any collection of short stories, there were a few that were kind of 2.5 to 3 stars, and then some that were absolutely amazing 5 stars. I am planning on using this book and several of the short stories therein with my 7th graders and possibly 8th graders next year when we begin studying the art of the short story in our reading class. So I'm probably going to get a couple more copies of this and put it in my classroom. I have very small classes. I think next year 6th graders there are 6 of them, and then next year 7th graders there are 6 of them, and then my 8th graders next year there are 7 of them. So if I get like 8 copies of this book, then we should be good to go. But I'm definitely going to be using that. I did enjoy it enough to use several of those in class. Next, I completed Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales. This has, I don't know if it has all of them. It doesn't have all of them, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, 10 of Andersen's fairy tales, a couple of them not as well known, and then some of the really well known ones like The Ugly Duckling and The Snow Queen and The Little Mermaid. And I just really enjoyed reading it. I think I may have given this a 3 stars. I can check on that real quick. All right, next I have, I gave it a 4 stars. Next, I have What's His Face by Gordon Corman. This this book was hilarious. I wound up giving it a 3 stars because I didn't actually like the writing style, which is really funny, but it's about this boy who moves like every 6 months, basically. And every time they move, because his dad is in the military and they get reassigned, they have to move, and every time they move, he gets a present. He and his big sister get like this really nice present. And so this time they moved and he got a really like the smartest smartphone in the world, but it starts glitching and it turns out that his smartphone is haunted by the 13-year-old who may or may not have been the actual author of one of Shakespeare's plays. And his 7th grade class is putting on a Shakespeare play, and it just goes from there. It was really funny, and I really enjoyed it, but my enjoyment of it was taken down because of um, the present tense first person kind of narration that was going on in the book. However, I do suggest that you pick it up. Next, I have Carnival Magic. This is by Amy Ephron, and it is the companion novel to The Castle in the Mist. So I've never read The Castle in the Mist, but I feel like I would enjoy it. You did not have to read the first one to read this one. There were a couple of places where they made references back to this other adventure that they had that kind of made me really wish I had read the first one. However, no harm, no foul. I gave this a 3.5 stars, 3 stars on Goodreads, but it's about a 3.5 to a 3.75. The writing style is beautiful. It just dragged a bit in a couple of places, and they were a little repetitive in some places. And I felt like if that had been edited out a little bit more, then I probably would have given this a 4 to a 4.5 stars. But the story itself, the premise of the story was awesome, and I really liked the characters and the writing style. All right, next I read Rodeo Queen by Marcy Peschke. This is a children's chapter book that has already gone back to the library, but it is about Kylie Jean, and Kylie Jean wants to be a beauty queen. And so it's a series of books that are all about Kylie Jean and her antics trying to be the best at all sorts of different things. And so this one was all about her wanting to learn to be a barrel racer or to do something in the rodeo, because if you enter the rodeo, then you get to be in the running to be rodeo queen, and she wanted to be rodeo queen. And she wound up A, being the rodeo queen, and B, learning how to barrel race and really enjoying it. So they got her a horse, and like she's she's a little cowgirl now, and it's awesome. In fact, currently my daughter and I are reading the next book in the series, which is Kylie Jean Dancing Queen. And she's a ballerina, so she's trying to become Odette in Swan Lake because her ballet company is putting it on. And I love the antics, and Elena really loves the books, and it's a lot of fun to read them together. All right, next we read High Fly Guy by Ted Arnold. It's the first in the Fly Guy series. Um, it's pretty cute. I gave it 3 stars. Elena gives it like 100 stars. She loves Fly Guy. Fly Guy is a fly who is the pet of a boy named Buzz, so he can say Buzz's name. And they get up to a lot of stuff. All right, then I listened to the audiobook of The Rhythmatist by Brandon Sanderson. Now, this was or is billed as the first in the Rhythmatist series, but I have not been able to find book 2. So I guess it hasn't come out yet, even though this one came out in 2012, 2013, something like that. 2014. It came out at the beginning of 2014. Um, I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I wish that I had known that book 2 had not come out yet. I wish I had checked that out a little bit more. The story is of a world in which the continents, the US, is all little islands now, and there's these wild chalklings that attack people, and rhythmatists use chalk and can protect people from these wild chalklings. And something starts happening, and Joel, who is not a rhythmatist but always thought he was meant to be one and knows how to be a rhythmatist better than most rhythmatists do, other than the fact that he doesn't have the magic that lets him make the chalk lines actually do things, he kind of gets pulled into the middle of it, or puts himself in the middle of it. I found it very interesting, and I am very much looking forward to Brandon Sanderson getting the second book out. Next, I completed Princess Disgrace by Lou Kinsler. This is Princess Disgrace, A Royal Disaster. And I believe this is book 1 in a series. I know that there are several Princess Disgrace books. I could not for the life of me figure out if this was actually book 1, but as far as I can tell, it is. Um, and in this book, Grace, who is the princess for a very small mountain kingdom, um, her mother has passed away, so she and her younger sister are being raised by this boisterous kind of mountain Viking dad. Um, she winds up being sent to Tall Towers Princess Academy, and kind of has to fight to stay there and learn how to be a princess. And she is klutzy and used to being this rough and tumble daddy's girl tomboy princess, and all the other girls are princessy princesses. And so she's really sticks out like a sore thumb, basically. And she kind of has to learn that it's okay to be herself, and she can make friends and still be herself. And her cousin is really mean to her and rude. And so it's about accepting yourself and accepting each other and learning to live together. And I gave it 4 stars. It was a great book. All right, next I finished Boying Up, How to Be Brave, Bold, and Brilliant by Mayim Bialik. Now, this is a nonfiction book by Mayim Bialik, who is a neuroscientist, as well as playing one on TV, as I'm sure you all know. And this is a follow up companion novel sort of thing to her Girling Up, which was all about the science behind how you go from like little girl to tween to teen to adult woman and the changes in your body. This is the same thing for boys. It's called How to Be Brave, Bold, and Brilliant. And it is basically just all about how your body changes and how the world will kind of pressure you and your friends might pressure you. But here are the things that are actually happening in all of your bodies, and it's okay if it happens faster or slower for you. It will happen eventually. And, these are the facts about how boys cope with things, what crushes feel like, how to handle your family and friends, all sorts of things like that. And I don't remember. I think I gave it a 3.5 stars, maybe. I may have given it a 4 star. I gave it a 4 star. It was interesting, but I don't have a boy, even though I am a middle grade teacher. I don't have a boy that's like talking to me about the changes in his body. So it kind of didn't hit as close to home for me as it would for someone who actually has children that they live with that are going through this. Although I do have, 7th and 8th grade boys, so I was reading some of this going, oh yeah, yeah, that's right, yeah, yeah, yes. All right, next I read Marvel's Sim Sim Takeover by Jacob Chabot and David Valjean. I gave this a very soft 3 stars. It's cute, but just not even close to what I was um, looking for. Um, I don't know. It's definitely a lower middle grade graphic novel. That's going back to my classroom for my 5th and 6th grade music students. They've been wanting to read it. So, and then Dancing Queen by Marcy Peshka, which I did. We finished it tonight. I said we were reading it. We did finish it tonight. I gave it a 4 stars. It was very, very cute. And what I love about the Kylie Jean books is that she doesn't always get what she wants. This is not a children's chapter book series where she's like, I'm going to be Odette. And then she gets to be Odette just because she's Kylie Jean and she says she's going to do it. She works hard. She tries to do what, she does everything she can to get to where she wants to be. But she just wasn't the girl for the job. One of the older girls uh, got the position of Odette, and Kylie Jean had to make do with one of the other characters. And she was a little upset, but she kept dancing and she danced the best she could with the part she was given. And I love that because it shows our children who are reading these books that you don't always get what you want. And, you get what you get, you don't throw a fit, or you throw a fit and then you suck it up, Buttercup. One of those two things. All right. And then the final book that I have completed in this first half of May is My Brother Sam is Dead by James Lincoln Collier and Christopher Collier. Now, I gave this a 4 stars. It's more like a 3.75, but I rounded it up to 4 because it was pretty good. Um, this is a fictionalized novelization of events in the Revolutionary War. And so we have Tim, who is 11 or 12 at the beginning of this book. And then we have Sam, who is 16. And Sam is at college, but he runs away to be part of the Patriot slash rebel army. Um, Tim and Sam's father, is not necessarily a Tory, but he does believe, the king is in charge of us and we just need to suck it up and do what he tells us to do and we don't need to have a war. Now we find out at one point that he was in a war and had to carry his best friend's body home sewn up in a bag. So, he doesn't want to be a part of it, but things happen and everybody gets dragged into it. And so this is the story told from Tim's point of view of Sam and the war. And there's been a lot of research that went into this. There are a lot of very factual events that are in here. And we are going to be reading this at the beginning of the year with the 8th graders as they begin to go into American history and learn about the Revolutionary War. Um, in their history class, our reading class is going to read this so that they can connect it on a more emotional level. And that is all of the books that I have read so far in the month of May. This is a 20-minute wrap up, so I do apologize for that. But if you would like to know more about any of these books, please let me know. Come talk to me in the comment section. Let me know if you liked this sort of wrap up or if I should, you know, do weekly ones for the rest of the month. If you've read any of these books, if you're going to read any of these books, what you've been reading for middle grade May, all of that jazz, go ahead and give me a big thumbs up if you liked this video. Subscribe if you are new, and I will talk to you again very soon. Until next time, I hope that you have a wonderful week. Bye.